Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Get Wheel. I'm going to switch this camera off at the moment because I don't know why I've got this one on. The subject of this video today is meeting, space, how we judge it, and anticipation and planning and how we put that together. A meeting situation is ultimately when two cars are coming down a road towards each other and there is not enough space for either one of those two vehicles to pass. Meeting, I guess, could also be where, and this is where the space comes in, meeting could also be where your two cars coming towards each other and the space is really, really tight, which is where a lot of learner drivers make mistakes. They don't slow down enough. So by the end of this video, you are going to have a better understanding of A, how to conduct a meeting and where to position, B, how to judge the space and what action you should be taking, and C, how to remain safe and pass your test. Let's break this down and put it in order. If there is a gap on my left like this, I will use it. I will tuck into the gap like so. I'm not saying this is necessarily the best gap. That would allow a vehicle to come past me and I wouldn't have a problem, and then I can move off. If another vehicle was coming now here, I could pause here to allow that vehicle to move into this gap on my right. Now I've entered the road because he's quite far ahead. I can see there's a gap on the left-hand side. So I'm going to check my center mirror and my left mirror, and I'm going to move into this gap. Now he's also done the same thing. Now the reason why he's done the same thing is because there's a massive van behind me. The other guy has decided to move in. Now because I've got a van behind me, that's giving me beautiful weight of traffic. Or should I say, because I've got extra weight of traffic and they realise that there's not enough space for the van to pull over to, they let me go through. So knowing who's behind you can also be really, really helpful. Anticipate. So because I think something could be coming, I reduce my speed right down. I'm in a position to the left and I'm going to be very cautious as I come around this corner. If a car was coming the other direction and was traveling too fast and I do the same thing, we're going to have an accident. Again, I am anticipating something could be coming around this corner. So again, I position to the left as I come around the corner to make sure that I'm not in the way in case somebody else is coming. Come up and around, and again I'm anticipating on this corner here somebody could be coming the other way, so again I position well to the left of my lane, again using this Amazon van as a potential shield just in case somebody is coming the other way. Now as I turn left, the problem here is it's nice and tight and there is a vehicle coming. So what I've done, if you notice, I've positioned on my side of the road using this black Mercedes right in front of me as a shield. If I'm already half tucked in, I'm protected and I should be leaving enough space for a vehicle to come through. There is a van coming. Now if you look at what I've just done there, I've used this parked vehicle on the left as a shield. I'm in a position where I can go round if need be, but at the same time I am shielded behind that black vehicle so that if somebody was coming, I wouldn't have been in their way. So for this next bit, let's step out of the car. Right now, imagine I am the driver and this is my line of sight. To my right hand side would be the edge of my car, and if I look down at my hand, that leaves me about half a meter on that side. Again, the passenger would be sitting here and the edge of the car would be somewhere about here, and again if I look at my hand in relation to where the car is, that leaves me another half a meter. So turning into this road here, again it's quite tight. I've got a position in the middle of the road in order to stay safe. If I want to give a nice meter distance between me and the parked cars, I've got to sit slap bang in the middle of the road. Now I know some of you get a little bit confused about this because you're thinking you should be driving on the left hand side of the road. If there's nothing coming towards me, it is safer for me to be sitting in the middle of the road so that if anyone does come out from in between parked cars, I am not going to be running them down. So this is a road I tend to never drive down, and the reason why I tend to never drive down it is because it is ridiculously tight. It's long and straight with very few gaps. Now if you do come into a road like this, you're going to have to be careful. You can see how incredibly tight it is, and speed is the key. If I can keep my speed down, I'm going to assume this woman is going to let me come past, because she's just let me come through. Take off my parking sensors. Now up ahead of me I've got a scooter coming towards me. I'm going to be nice to the scooter. Why not? Let the scooter guy come through. Treat him like he's another vehicle that deserves respect. I've got vehicles on the right hand side. I've got spaces on the right hand side, spaces on the left. This is when I start to relax, especially on a road like this. There's my mirrors. That's my position. I'm going to let these guys come through. I say thank you. So as we can see, judging space, it's not about judging the width of your car, it's more about, is there enough space for a car to fit into that space? So instead of worrying about my car so much, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the parked cars around me. I'm going to get an idea of how big they are. I'm in my head, I'm going to visually pick them up and put them in the middle of the road, and I get a rough idea of where I should be positioning. If it's tight, the combination is really simple. If it starts to get tight, I reduce my speed. If you reduce your speed, you have enough time to then assess the space. If it's incredibly tight, if I go through a width restriction, I might at that point have to be able to assess both sides of my car. If it's that tight, the speed is going to be incredibly slow. That is how we judge space. I'm looking at those parked cars up on the left-hand side, and I would imagine that there's only just about enough space for my car to squeeze through that section. Now because of that, because I pick up that car and put it in the middle of the road, because of that my speed is going to be greatly reduced. At the moment I'm doing 13 miles an hour. As I get to this width restriction, I'm going to be looking left and right to make sure I can squeeze through the gap, and then we're all good. And there is one other caveat also within meetings, so that if an obstruction is on my side of the road, if I'm driving down a main road, and again I'll highlight that as I move on, if I'm driving down a normal road and there's a parked van or a bus and it's on my side, then therefore it's the oncoming car's priority, and if that obstruction was on the other side, then it would be my priority, although I'm always ready to stop or reduce my speed just in case somebody doesn't give me the priority that I should have. That's part of being a defensive driver, or defensive driving, which is again what the examiner wants to see. I've got a cyclist in front of me, I've got a car doing I don't know what, I've got an oncoming car, and my priority really is this cyclist. I've got another oncoming car, it's too tight. This is a situation where you really should be waiting. Now there's nothing oncoming, I can now give this cyclist plenty of room, sit in the middle of the road as I come past her, see in my mirrors as I come back in. And really what I've done there is I've prioritized the safety of that particular cyclist. Now the last useful tool that you've got when dealing with sort of tight situations, meeting situations, is how to use your body language and when is it appropriate. Now, if I tuck in all the way to the left, the oncoming car is going to take as much room as you give them. If you give them loads of room, they're going to take it. Now I can't be aggressive, I can't shove my car to the right and shove them over, but if I position myself a little bit further over to the right, which I think you might see in my driving in France video, you see me do that, I'm going to highlight that again here anyway, but if you position yourself a little bit to the right, especially when you look at how much space they actually have themselves, you will encourage them to give you a little bit more room. Do be careful because you can't be aggressive. But if you can gently nudge them in the right direction, then you should be okay. Now, this is getting tight. So it's pretty simple. I've used my body language to encourage that car to move over. I could also see there was plenty of room for that car to move over, but it wasn't initially as if they wanted to. Now the road ahead is quite tight. Look how much space that taxi is taking up. So by me positioning just a little bit more to the middle of the road, it's going to encourage him to move over and give me the space that I need. So again, here with this Mercedes, I'm using my body language, not aggressively, but enough to encourage them to take the space. Now the van did exactly the same thing to me, to be honest. He probably looked at my positioning and tried to encourage me to move over, much like that van just did too. There is enough space for us to pass, we just have to do it nice and slowly. Once I understand the mechanics of meeting, where I position, how I position, and I also understand how to judge space and what I should be doing when space gets tight, which is, as we said before, is slow down. And once I start anticipating that a problem is occurring, then I'm really going to start to manage meeting situations very well. In this video, we looked at meeting. I've used my anticipation. I've showed you how to assess space. I've also highlighted what it is that you need to do when you're approaching sort of tight spaces, which is obviously drop your speed. And I've just touched on at the end there a little bit of how you use your body language and in a way in which you can do it appropriately so that it's not aggressive and that you're affecting other drivers. Let me just make sure it's my little checklist. Meeting, anticipation, space, body language. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go with that. The aim of Get Wheel is to give you as much information as possible to help you, A, to drive safe, because that's obviously the main thing, but also to get you through your driving tests, because that's obviously your main thing, but everybody wants, and we all want, is safe driving with great skill, with good ability. So yeah, see you in the next one. What it is that you need to do in order to... That is my car alarm. Not sure why that went off.